He asked if he'd do a roll call for, see if we have quorum.
He did. I can't hear him.
You can't hear him?
Elliot.
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Oh, Rachel, if you don't mind, can
You ready?
Can you check if we have quorum? Can you start doing a roll call?
Yes.
Sure, we have quorum, so we could then start the meeting.
Kevin Mulligan,
Kevin Mulligan here.
Lisa Kirby,
Lisa Kirby here.
Thomas Barnett, Shantae Gooby, Rick DeCesar,
Rick DeCesar here.
Ann Wall, Ken Graves, James Rhodes,
This is Ben Rogers with Pitt County Planning here for James.
Jonas Hill,
Present.
Michael Taylor, Anthony Bauer, Mr. Bauer, I see you, but you're muted. Brian Jones,
Yes, Brian Jones here.
Stephen Smith, Nola Roberts, Richard Zeck,
Rachel, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, I see Nola Roberts. That
Oh, yep, I do too. Steve Hamilton,
Here.
Liam Hogan Rivera,
This is Scott Walston. I'm filling in for Liam. She's on maternity leave.
oh, congratulations to her.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott. Lynn White,
Here.
Bailey Harden,
Bailey Harden here.
Kevin Richards, Sam Singleton,
Present.
and William Bagnell. And I see Terry
Lansdale, Pikewalk, North Carolina.
All right, Rachel, how are we looking for quorum?
and
we're okay. We have quorum.
Okay.
good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the Greenville MPO TCC meeting. Well, yes, for the technical issues. Now that we have reached quorum shared, let's proceed.
All right, now, line item 1 is approval of the agenda. The agenda is, Elliot had emailed that out. We have, under the regular agenda, approval of the June 15, 2022 TCC meeting minutes, followed by the fiscal year 2020 through 2029 Transportation Improvement Program amendment. Those two items, A and B, will require TCC action. Then for discussion, we'll have a draft of the Pitt County Comprehensive Transportation Plan, a presentation of that, as well as item D of fiscal year 24 through 33 revised draft statewide transportation improvement program and prioritization process update. 3C, Phil Geary from NCDOT will walk us through that, and 3D, Iliad will take us through that. Other discussion items, updates from Division 2, Transportation Planning, Integrated Mobility Division, as well as MPO staff. And then lastly, item 5 is talk about the next meeting. So do we have a motion to approve the agenda as read?
Brian Jones, so moved.
All right, do we have a second?
Steve Hamilton, second.
All right. Motion by Brian Jones and seconded by Stephen Hamilton. Rachel, you can take a roll call of the members that are present. Rachel, you might be muted.
Rachel, you.
Oh, sorry. Kevin Mulligan,
Approve.
Lisa Kirby,
Lisa Kirby, approve.
Rick DeCesar,
Caesar approve.
Jonas Hill,
Jonas Hill, approved.
Ben Rogers,
Approve.
Anthony Bauer,
Anthony, your mic may not be working or you're on mute.
Yeah, just getting access, unfortunately. Sorry.
Hey, just a reminder on an item I missed. If your video is not on and everyone's video is basically not on, you have to say your name and then approve.
Kevin, apparently there is an issue with, I guess, how the invite was sent out. So I have to give permission for everyone to turn their camera on, and I'm trying to figure that out.
No worries. No worries.
I'm going to continue with the roll call for right now. Brian Jones,
Brian Jones, yes.
Nola Roberts, Nola Roberts, you're unmuted, but I can't seem to hear you.
All right, move on to the next person.
Okay. Steve Hamilton,
Steve Hamilton, approved.
Scott Walston,
Scott Walston, approve.
Lynn White,
Lynn White, approved.
Bailey Harden,
Bailey Harden, approve.
and Sam Singleton.
Sam Singleton, approve.
And Rachel, Nola Roberts did say yes in the chat.
Okay, I see that now.
Okay. All right. So ethics awareness and conflict of interest reminder. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest with respect to any matters coming before the board today? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any participation in the particular matter involved. All right, moving on to number 2, public comment period. Rachel, anyone registered from the public to provide comment during this meeting?
No.
All right.
They haven't.
What was that? Was there a comment?
No, they haven't.
Okay. All right. Item number 3 under the regular agenda, approval of the June 15th, 2022 TCC meeting minutes. Those are on the package that Iliad sent out, pages 3 through 5. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Lisa Kirby, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Sam Singleton, second.
All right. Motion made by Lisa Kirby and seconded by Sam Singleton. Rachel, can you take a roll call of the meeting minutes?
Kevin Mulligan,
Kevin Mulligan, approve.
Lisa Kirby,
Lisa Kirby, approve.
Rick DeCesar,
Rick DeCesar approve.
Jonas Hill,
Jonas Hill, approved.
Ben Rogers,
Ben Rogers, approve.
Anthony Bauer,
Anthony Bowers, approved.
Brian Jones,
Brian Jones, approved.
Nola Roberts, Steve Hamilton,
Steve Hamilton, approve.
Scott Walston,
Scott Walston, approve.
Lynn White,
Lynn White, approve.
Bailey Harden,
Bailey Harden, approve.
and Sam Singleton.
Sam Singleton, approve.
And again, Rachel Nola Roberts have some microphone issues and has stated yes in the chat. All right, item 3B, motion carries. Item 3B, fiscal year 2020 through 2029 Transportation Improvement Program Amendment. You want to walk us through this?
Yes, if in the agenda packet, if you go to page 6, you will see the item. Just to briefly go over the process, this is a process that you are, or our members are familiar with. Every time there's a change in a project in terms of schedule, cost, or any significant change according to the FHWA standards or guidelines, it will prompt an amendment to the TIP and the STIP. So they usually, in this case, today's amendment is a combination of projects that were at the request of DOT and the city of Greenville. Starting with the city of Greenville, the EB 6042 is the construction of the multi-use paths at various locations. That includes the Tar River, the Moyer Boulevard, Norfolk Southern Rail Corridor, Town Creek in Greenville. They modify basically some of the cost estimate schedule following the guidance of FHWA and the STIP unit, so it could reflect their agreement. The same applies to U6240, the rehabilitation and realignment of West 5th Street from Cadillac Street to Reed Circle. They just modified some of the cost schedule according to the build grant agreement, and we are expecting maybe more tweaks will come along for the next meeting as the projects get more defined. So the third item is the EB 60, 43, 44, and 45. Those before this board has reviewed the projects that were split per components, and now they are lumping the same improvements that are from 43, 44, and 45 into EB 60, 42. So we are deleting the names or the IDs of these projects, as they will be, they are all lumped within EB 6042. The projects from 4 to 7, they are DOT projects or requested by NCDOT to be amended or included in the STIP. They're mostly safety projects. We have approved, the board have approved this number 4 HS 2002E. That's the intersection improvement in Greenville Boulevard where that old Pactolus Road is, it connects to, it will reduce the conflict to turning left on that intersection, and they're just removing the right-of-way that was previously programmed for FY22. I forgot to mention that within the attachment, you will have more details, such as the cost breakdown from page 8 on. You will have the cost breakdown and how it is split per year. So the funds for the construction still in, is just the right-of-way that has been removed for the HS 2002E. The other 3 projects are safety improvements at various locations. Doesn't mean that it is within the MPO area. They're just division level, regional, and statewide level. They're basically, this is basically a standard process to approve the funds, and add, in this case, adding the construction for year 23. In our last meeting, we when we amended in March, actually, when we amended the TIP, we added construction for year 22. So this time we are just amending for 2023. So the action needed for this is request TAC to amend the current MT, the 2020-2029, and the attachments are the resolution that the TCC will approve in their next meeting, August 24th, and also the pages that shows the changes with the description of the modifications. Something I should mention is that usually I've always shared this, and we have reviewed this, but basically the N, they're called item N. They're usually the handouts for the Board of Transportation agenda, and they are following the format. But if anybody has any questions on how they're structured, feel free to reach out. As we will get more accustomed to this through the process of amending the next step. So does anybody has any questions about the projects to be approved?
Are any questions or comments about what was presented? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve item 3B? Oh, go ahead.
Steve Hamilton, motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Rick DeCesar, second.
Okay, motion made by Steve Hamilton of NCDOT and seconded by Rick DeCesar. Rachel, we do a roll call.
Kevin Mulligan,
Kevin Mulligan, approve.
Lisa Kirby,
Lisa Kirby, approve.
Rick DeCesar,
Rick DeCesar, approve.
Jonas Hill,
Jonas Hill, approve.
Ben Rogers,
Ben Rogers, approve.
Anthony Bauer,
Anthony Bowers, approve.
Brian Jones,
Brian Jones, approve.
Nola Roberts,
Nola Roberts, approve.
Steve Hamilton,
Steve Hamilton, approve.
Scott Walston,
Scott Walston, approve.
Lynn White,
Lynn White, approve.
Bailey Harden,
Bailey Harden, approve.
and Sam Singleton.
Sam Singleton, approve.
Okay, Kevin.
All right, motion carries. Move on to item 3C, which is a draft of the Pitt County Comprehensive Transportation Plan presentation, and Phil Geary from NCDOT will make this presentation. Mr. Geary, I'll turn over to you.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate everyone's time. I'm Phil Gary with NCDOT's Transportation Planning Division, and Scott's also here. He's helped with this effort for the last couple of years or so, as well as Pitt County, and let's see, I see Brian and a few others, and feel free to chime in if y'all see anything I mess up here. Next slide, please. So this is just a informational item, and we're hoping to adopt the recommendations in early 2023. Next slide, please. Thanks. The topics we'll cover today: what is a CTP, or a comprehensive transportation plan, as well as the specific recommendations we have for Pitt County today. Right now, they're just draft working items, so everything's still up in the air, able to be edited. And then we will finish with our next steps and schedule. And next slide, please. So the first thing is, what is a CTP? That first line has it right there, Comprehensive Transportation Plan. It is a long-range plan. We're going all the way to the year 2045 for this one. And it is multimodal. So we go over highway, bicycle, pedestrian, rail, public transit. I think I got them all. Yeah, all those modes. And we developed it cooperatively among a lot of stakeholders. So we had a lot of help. With us being based in Raleigh, we want to make sure we get the locals' perspective. So we have the Greenville MPO, the Mid-East RPO, Pitt County, all the municipalities, as well as the division staff as well. And the reason that we have our job is NC General Statute 136-66.2. That is mandates the comprehensive transportation plans we're working on today. Next slide, please. A little bit more about what is a CTP. It incorporates the land use plans. We have community and statewide goals as well. These recommendations don't have money attached to them, so they're just needs. It's a list of needs. And later on, hopefully, when it does get funded, there's additional analysis to determine the details of every one of these concepts to get a final location, a final design, a final scope. But right now, we just want to get the list of needs down. And yeah, the last bullet is a common long-range vision for facilities among local governments, the MPO, RPO, and NCDOT. Next slide, please. So this is just an infographic to describe how the CTP fits into the whole picture. Everything you see out there today, when you see a road, it had to start here. We had to determine the need, and that's our goal with this comprehensive transportation plan, get all the needs down. And like I said, there's no money attached right now, but the next step, we score all the needs in the state. So while we're working on Pitt County's needs, everywhere else in the state is working on their comprehensive transportation plan, their list of needs. And since we don't have unlimited money, we have to score those needs to be able to pay for the most important needs. So after we score it and we decide what we should pay for, we have to plan it, make sure we don't ruin the environment and people's homes too much, buy the land that's necessary, build it, maintain it, move the utilities, and then finally, maintain it and operate it is the ultimate goal. Next slide, please. So that was all I had on what is a CTP. And right now, for Pitt County specifically, we have 94 highway recommendations and 157 bicycle and pedestrian recommendations. The Greenville urban area MPO's recommendations you can find on sheet 2A of 4, and the bike and ped recommendations can be found on sheet 4A of 4. And if anybody wants to look at the details right now, again, this is a working draft. It is on tinyurl.com/PittCTP. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is just an overview of the Guampo highway recommendations. As you can see, there are a lot of colors and logos, little indicators of what that means. And we could go over that a little later, but this is just a little overview. And then the next slide has the bike and ped recommendations. Again, there's a lot going on here, but just to give you an overview, there's a little visual on the left, and we can go over the legends later. Next slide, please. So that was an overview of Pitt County's recommendations. And then the last thing I'm going over here is public involvement. We're going to have some drop-in sessions in the future and a website and survey. I mentioned the website. There's also a survey, and that can be found on the website or at that link shown there. And then the next slide, we'll have our final step. Our ultimate goal with this plan is to get local adoptions in early 2023. The minimum requirements are listed there. We just request that you adopt your portion of the Pitt County CTP, and it's optional to endorse the rest of the plan. So for y'all, we'd ask you to adopt the MPO portion and state the relevant land development plan, and it's optional to also have a public hearing. And then after we get the adoptions from the MPO, the 10 municipalities, hopefully the county, and an endorsement from the RPO, hopefully, that's when NCDOT will be the last to adopt. The last slide there, questions, and the rest of the maps we can go over if you want to dive into any details or anything. But yeah, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Phil. Any questions or comments on that item?
And this is Elliot. I wanted to mention that in the agenda packet, Phil was able to provide us the slides. They are in, from page, as you have seen, is page 6 up to 23, and then 24 on are the report draft maps and recommendations with the list of all the projects that the committee has reviewed. This is an important process and step towards updating our metropolitan transportation plan that is around the corner. We use the CTP recommendations to then be reviewed during the MTP phase, and these are basically the one of the steps that you need for a project to be included in STI and submitted to STI. One of the requirements is to be in the plan. So please use this opportunity to check the plan, check the recommendations, see if that goes along with the vision of your jurisdiction. This is the window of time that we have to provide comments and make changes to it, participate in the survey. And as all that information will help us to build a more robust long-range plan at the MPO level.
Hey, Iliad or Phil, if I ask a question, just one of the things we were looking at prior to the meeting when we were reviewing the agenda, that there's 94 projects listed here. Is there any meaning to, why project number 1 right there? Why that one is number 1 and why 94 is 94? Or that's just?
Those are just, I think they're ordered by facility type. So the USNC routes are first, and then SR local roads last.
Okay.
After the meeting, I will, this is Elliot. After the meeting, I will share the link to the survey to our TCC members.
Great. Any other questions or comments on the CTP? All right. Seeing none, let's move on to, thank you, Mr. Geary, for that presentation.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to item 3D, which is the revised draft statewide transportation improvement program prioritization process.
Okay, this next item is in page 46. This is I will say, one of the reasons of some delays on delivering the agenda packet. We had a draft step that the members have reviewed last week. It was released on Thursday. Was released the new revised step. What happened is that there's some good news. So the General Assembly passed their budget and they increased the transfer of sales tax to the Highway Trust Fund. That added approximately $5 billion to the draft step, the revised draft step that is in the agenda packet. So the purpose of today is to review the new revised draft step of 2024-2033 and provide comments as we are at the stage of draft stage, and we will then approve the final version of the step either in I think it was by summer of next year. I briefly describe what happened of where we are, how we got here. It was signed into law, that Appropriations Act, in July 25th, and with that budget, they went to the projects that we have in the current step, and they applied the same selection method that we all have been receiving presentations about, the delivery list and the seniority list of P3, P4, P5 based on their scoring. And they, the spot work group, reviewed this and basically, as a result, more projects have regained funds in the MPO area compared to the one, I would say, compared to the step that it was reprogrammed in 2020, in August 2020. Within the agenda item description, I added the draft step in spreadsheet format. This is a new feature that DOT has been able to provide. It is a great tool to help you to find the projects and see the details easily. So if you click here, you could actually have access. You could download the Excel file for just the MPO projects in the step. And the tabs have the regular tab that describes how to use the spreadsheet, and then you have the regular step, and then you have another tab for the swap projects, projects that are swap candidates for swapping, and then the comparison of those swap candidates in terms of the story of the project, like before the reprogramming, during the reprogramming, and this current, and seeing like where they funded, when they were funded, and if they're no longer funded. And it is a great tool to compare it. But I prepared, the MPO staff prepared a report that kind of notes the difference between the last time we saw this draft step to the one that is called now the revised step. It is attached in page 48. Basically, what this report shows is the projects that have, there's two tables, the projects that all the funds have been removed, and they're listed in the draft step as not funded, and most of the projects, if not all of the projects that are listed as not funded, were already uncommitted before we had the step reprogramming. So these projects were regardless of this funding being added, they were supposed to compete for P7 funds in the next prioritization cycle. From the first list that we have seen in the past, there are two less projects. So there's two less. We have two more projects that were funded, is what it means. And then the second table is the committed projects. Those are the now called delivery projects. Four of the projects have been kept the acceleration from the last time we have seen. 3 had no change in the current schedule since the reprogramming. 2 projects were added now with this additional revenue. All the changes that has happened from the draft step that we reviewed in our last meeting in June to this new step that was released on Thursday are marked in red. So, with the exception of the top project that is a safety project, and it was added through safety funds for FY23, we have reviewed this list before, and they have kept the same schedule. Allen Road still being accelerated for FY24 for construction. Evans Street, an old TAR, is set for construction in 2025. It has not changed since the reprogramming. Oh, it has changed. It has been accelerated during the reprogramming. So right now it has not changed since the last draft of the step. Memorial Drive, this is the intersection improvement in 5th Street, is still in 2025. Fire Tower Road, again, was moved to 24 for right-of-way and 26 for construction. The second phase of Fire Tower, the 14th Street to East 10th Street, that was also accelerated from to 25, and construction for right-of-way, and then construction for 2027. 14th Street was accelerated in the draft step and is still in this revise at 2026 for construction. And a new project that it was not a new project, it's a project that was before committed and then became unfunded and now is a delivery project based on this new funding, is the signal system. Greenville signal system has been incorporated to this revised step and still in the same schedule as when they reprogram all the projects in 2020. So utilities in FY 2026, construction FY 2028. Followed by Fire Tower Road improvements, NC43 from Fire Tower Road, to Worthington. They have kept the same schedule of right-of-way in FY 2027 and construction FY 29. And then the Worthington Road intersection improvement at County Home Road was also regained funds with this new revised step and still has kept the same schedule as the reprogram schedule that is now the 2027 for right-of-way and 2029 for construction. The link to the spreadsheet is also included in this report. Going back to the item description, I wanted to mention that also the deadline for swapping that we have discussed in the past, it has been pushed. Last time it was September 30, and now it's March 17 of 2023. We have until then to request the swaps. Before that, the MPO will have to meet with Division 2 and the STEEP unit, and then discuss with the local jurisdictions that are interested in making a swap. And they will have to comply, of course, with the swap or schedule, or the flexibility policy, I mean, in order to be swapped. And that's something, if you have a project locally that you would like us to review, feel free to reach out to us. We have been, with this new information, we have not had the chance to view how the new funding changes the potential swap projects, to discuss them with the jurisdictions, but we plan to do that ahead of our future TCC and TAC meeting. If the swaps are identified, they will have to be approved by the local governments, and then we will review it and approve it. The TCC and TAC meeting hopefully will be either December or February of next year, prior to March. And another thing I wanted to mention, for these changes, DOT will hold public meetings during fall, and they haven't provided the dates yet, but I wanted to give you a heads up of expect an email from us sharing when they're going to do that outreach, and that they will show us more details about the draft STEP. Attached besides the report, I have added the PDF format of the table of the current revised STEP, the current swap candidates table, the swap candidates with schedule comparison, the flexible parameters that are needed in order to decide if you could swap a project, and the new STEP programming P7 timeline. Something else I wanted to mention is that this is the new timeline. The board of transportation is being briefed about the timeline as we speak. So I wanted to mention that looking ahead, we will have a finalized STEP by spring or early summer of next year, that DOT will, the Board of Transportation will approve. Then the MPO during summer most likely approve the final STEP of 2024-2033. And at the same time, during spring of 2023 and summer, the privatization P7 submittal window will open. So we are expecting to have conversations of selecting the projects for the next privatization process in the coming meetings. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or comments about any of what we have discussed. If you don't have a question right now, I know there's a lot of information, a lot to take in, and the purpose of getting this information to you and go through it with you all is to just digest it and start the conversation that hopefully will take place before we have to decide decide to approve the STEP. So does anybody has any questions about the new revised draft STEP or the changes to it?
No, I think good job, Iliad. So 3 projects were added, and those identified in that table in the red ink.
Yes, basically the top project is a safety project with safety funds, safety funded project with their own prioritization process. But familiar to the board is those 2 at the bottom that we submitted through STI in previous cycles. We allocated points, we provided support, and they were before the reprogramming, they were committed, and now they're finally back
Right.
And that's why it says previously unfunded, because it was in the last draft step that it was in June when we were reviewing the June draft step.
That's good news.
Yes.
All right, any questions or comments for Iliad on that? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Iliad. We'll move on to item 4A, which is updates and announcements. We'll start with Division 2, Len White.
Okay, Kevin. Iliad's got in the package the construction report, a little bit of a update on what's going on. Some resurfacing has begun earlier this week in the county, and you'll see there's some schedules to start again in the fall around 102 to 264 alternate mill and resurfacing, and then Winterville and Camelot subdivisions will be next spring, getting those started. Dickinson Avenue project, U5606, they're still working with the contractor to try to develop a schedule, and like everything else, the driving factor in the delays right now is the materials. Getting started on that for like ductile iron stuff. I-587 re-signing is approximately 25% complete. As they get the materials in, get the signs in, they're making progress on that. That's probably going to go into next year, getting finished with it. That is all I have. I usually ask Diane if she's got anything, but she's not on. So I will just say if you got any questions, let us know.
Any forecast for when Dickinson may start?
No, I asked yesterday about it. And that's was the answer I got. They're still working with the contractor.
Gotcha. Well, the recently at 587 looks great.
Thanks.
And Len, this is Elliot. Any forecast on the schedule developed by the contractor?
No, that's what they're working on now.
Okay. So okay. And about the
This is Anthony. Is there any where we can get more information on the various roads in Winterville?
Yes, I think in a previous meeting we had, I had sent Elliot the list of all the roads, but if it's not there, I can get that to Elliot and he can send it to you.
Yeah, this is only my second meeting, so.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
and Len, about the 587 resigning, that 25% complete, does that include the alternate US 264 alternate resigning to US 264?
I think Steve's on also. I think my understanding is they're concentrating mostly on the 264, the main switch over to 587. Is that right, Steve? Or
That is correct. Right now, we're concentrating on that, but I think they will be starting to move over and switch the 264 alternate to 264. That goes from the 264 alternate interchange over near Wilson. 264 will go on to that, and then you cut down through the Farmville and along US 13, and then come in and then jump back on the Southwest bypass at Dickinson Avenue extension. So some of that overhead signing down there is being changed as well, as that's part of that overhead signing work that's still left to be done too.
All right, any other questions from Mr. White? Now we'll move on to, thank you, Lynn. Item 4A2, Transportation Planning Division.
Hi, this is Scott Walston with the Transportation Planning Division. I'm filling in for Liam. She's on maternity leave right now. She had a baby girl on Monday. So I'll be filling in for the next couple of months in this position. Couple of things we've got going on in the Statewide Initiatives group. We've got a freight plan going on that's getting updated. There's a carbon reduction plan that's getting worked on. That's next year. And there's a resiliency plan also. And something else I want to follow up. Phil did a great presentation for the CTP, but he presented about a year and a half worth of stuff in like 5 to 10 minutes. Really, it was really fast. But I'd encourage everybody to take a good look at that information. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Phil, or Eliud, or Ben, or James, and ask questions about this CTP, because there's a lot of stuff in it, and there's a lot of good stuff. So just be sure to don't gloss over it and take a good look at it. And that's all I've got.
All right, thank you. Move on to 4A3, Integrated Mobility Division, Nick Morrison.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Just a couple of things on my end. One is that the final report for the Great Trails State Plan has been published to the NCDOT Connect page, so encourage folks to check that out. Additionally, the 2022 Multimodal Planning Grant Program, the award recommendation should be before the Board of Transportation today, so we anticipate being able to send out award notifications for those successful applicants here shortly. Additionally, the division is working on rolling out the Transportation Disadvantaged Index tool. So it's a spatial tool that kind of will enable practitioners to better understand and evaluate barriers to transportation access. So we don't have a finalized schedule as to when that's going to be launching, but it should be later this month. And then we will be rolling out several trainings and then a feedback form to accompany that. And then finally, there's been quite a bit of progress on the S-Line TOD study over the past 2 months. There were a series of 9 in-person design charrettes held throughout the study area in early June. And then following that in July, the first of the education series with a panel of developers to discuss kind of TOD win-wins was held at Raleigh Union Station. We anticipate having 2 follow-up education series later in September. And then the consultant team should have a draft report available in December of 2022. So more to come on that. And then Iliad, I think you were able to include the link for the IMD webinar that management staff from across our division held, I think 2 weeks ago. So there's a lot of information specifically from our statewide planning team, and then also our data and innovations team. So if you've got an hour to spare, encourage you guys to check that recording out. The slide deck is also posted. And that's all I've got.
Excellent, thank you. Iliad, item 444.
Okay, thank you, and thank you all for attending and providing updates. I just have brief updates about some things that we have been working on in the MPO, and then some things that you're already familiar with. So the first, the NC Bikewalk Transportation Summit. Greenville is hosting the summit this year, and it was going to happen in October 27 to the 29th. I encourage our members to attend, and there's more information on page 63 of the packet about the summit and the benefits for us, specifically professionals in transportation and officials of government staff. There's also the handouts that describes more why the summit, why you attend. So I encourage you to review this and participate and attend that summit. The other item is special studies. Since our last meeting, we received the good news that the rail division was awarded funds for the Greenville to Raleigh passenger rail feasibility study. That was a study that our TCC and TAC voted a letter for support, and the MPO staff has been collaborating and coordinating meetings with each planning organization and divisions of DOT to make sure that we were able to submit the application for SPR. And now we are working with the rail division on the scope to review if it's comprehensive and it gathers all the information that we need for future prioritization or future funding opportunities. Regarding the 10th Street bicycle and pedestrian crossing feasibility study that is in our planning work program, and VHB Engineering has been selected for that study, and we're starting to have a kickoff meeting in the near future. Before I mentioned the carbon reduction program, I wanted to go back to one of the things that Scott mentioned about the comprehensive transportation plan, we have, as part of the committees, many of you know that we are in the process of doing presentations to municipalities so they could see the draft plan. This is the first presentation, I think, within the MPO, and we're expecting that Winterville will have their own presentation, and Simpson and Greenville and Aden. So if we have stated during those committee meetings, if there's a need for assistance for us to participate in that meeting, to present it to your board, please let us know. We will manage and see how we can work that out in our schedule. For example, I'm assisting Simpson, the Village of Simpson, on their presentation next week. So feel free to reach out to us, and we could work a schedule that works for both, and we could participate and help. Then now to the last item, and this is an item that has been, we cannot go into the weeds today in this meeting because it's brand new. We do not know much information about, but I wanted to inform our members as a heads up of something that it will be maybe crucial in the future. We have been awarded funds through the carbon reduction program. These funds, although we are not familiar with them, and we do not know how much is going to be in the long run, but it seems like it is a funding source that we could use to develop capital projects, such as similar to what other MPOs that have larger MPOs that have their own lab program, the local administrative projects program. This program might work pseudo like that, like a small version. For the next steps to know more, we will have to develop a selection process of which projects qualify for this carbon reduction program, and how we do that selection. I just listed some of the information that I received yesterday on this, and these are eligible activities that could be funded, and there's more to come. There will be more details that will be hopefully developed in the coming weeks, so I could update our members through emails as we head to our next meeting. So the selection process will need to be approved by TCC and TAC. So we expect either next meeting or the meeting above to have a selection process available for the members. But prior to that, I'm going to reach out to the jurisdictions just to make sure we are following the process that they will agree on prior to be provided to the TCC. It will work similar to what we have done in the past, like a work group, basically, of asking the members who would like to participate to review the decision-making process, to the selection process that we have decided or we have reviewed. One of the things that I have to do is going out there, or the MPO will have to go out there and compare other MPOs and see which methodology will fit our region. The projects that have to be identified in this list, we will have to make sure that the jurisdictions have the necessary funds. They will require a match, a 20% match, but I haven't received a confirmation of this, but I'm mostly sure, I'm very sure that it will require you to have all the necessary funds for the project to then be reimbursed after. And among the things that we're going to discuss after, as I get more information, is what will be the next steps to inform our jurisdiction prior to select these projects. So expect more to come from this item in our next meetings.
All set on that, Iliad?
Yes.
And thank you. Good update. Any questions or comments for Iliad? All right, that brings us to item 5, which is just the meeting schedule. Our next scheduled meeting for TCC is December 7th. And Transportation Advisory Committee, they'll have an upcoming meeting on August 24th and then December 7th as well. So the December 7th meeting is a joint meeting
Yes.
All right. If there are no other questions or comments, we will adjourn this meeting. All right. So thank you, everyone. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Thanks, everyone, for your help.